My name is Valentina Kuskova, and I am the academic supervisor of this master's program. So while our participants are still entering in, I will just briefly tell you what we're going to do today, and then we'll just move on. So I wanted to talk to you about decision making and how we make decisions, and some of the tools that we use in decision making. Now, if you attended our previous webinar, then I'm sure you have heard me saying that decision making is a complex process. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have also heard about SWOT analysis, and that's strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. This is a management tool that is used throughout the world a lot, all the time. Now, briefly, maybe speaking or maybe in chat, is there anyone here who has not heard of SWOT analysis? Anyone? Some people have even used it in the past. Thank you, Eva, for responding. So lots of people have used it in the past. And in fact, I think it's so common that many people now learn it as early as high school. So today's focus of our webinar is SWOT analysis and some of the things that actually could go wrong with it, okay? So let's talk about an interesting question. The fact that strategic decision-making is the foundation of solid business. Everyone says that without strategy, we can't make businesses successful. Well, interestingly enough, and this is an actual reference that is published at the end of the slide. You can see where I got this information from. 50 to 90% of all strategic initiatives fail. Now, I understand that 50 to 90 is actually quite a large range, right? But what it means actually, that's more than half of strategic decisions fail. And when decisions fail, the question that comes up, why is it the case? Well, let's think about it. When people make a decision, they look at facts available to them, right? Some of the failures are classic, and we study them in business schools and in other programs. For example, Western Union, right, refused to pay a patent, refused to buy a patent for a telephone. Now, some of you have probably heard of Western Union, and you know that this is a company that is wiring money across the world. It used to be a telegraph company. So it would have been only natural that the company that used to send telegrams to people from one place in the world to another would have bought a phone. It was only worth $100. Now I realize that in 1876, $100 was a lot of money, but probably still not that much for a large company like Western Union. Yet they failed, and it's a surprise they still exist. They could have gone out of business a long time ago. Now, at one point, Decca Records rejected the Beatles album, and they didn't produce the Beatles. And of course, it's one of the best known music bands in the world. Now, Ross Perot refused to purchase a Microsoft license or Microsoft company for a range of 40 to 60 million. Now it's worth over $350 billion today. I'm sure Bill Gates is happy that he didn't sell his Microsoft, but Ross Perot made a big mistake. Now, how does it happen that people make bad decisions? Now, here is the SWOT analysis. It consists of 4 components called strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the company, when it's making a strategic decision, or actually a team that when it's making a smaller decision, is supposed to come up with a wide variety of different criteria that they can sort out into one of the 4 quadrants. They have to identify the company's strengths. They have to identify their own weaknesses. Now, strengths and weaknesses are internal because this is something that the company possesses, right? Of course, strengths are favorable to the company. Weaknesses are unfavorable. Now, opportunities and threats are external, something that exists outside of the company. So for example, for Western Union to purchase a patent, that would have been an external opportunity. And when it's an opportunity, it's a favorable condition. When it's a threat, it's unfavorable condition. Now, you don't have to just identify one event with a SWOT analysis. You can use a SWOT analysis for anything. For example, you can take this purchase of a telephone, a patent for a telephone, and evaluate its strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Now, some people say that SWOT analysis helps organization build a strategic plan to meet goals, improve operations, and keep the business relevant. And there is another quote: SWOT is one of the most important tools of strategic analysis, which is the basis for strategic decision making. And here we have a story that 50 to 90% of all strategic initiatives actually fail. So, why is that? There are some benefits and then there are some downfalls of SWOT. The benefit is that it's simple. It's very easy to come up with SWOT structure to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can tell 4 different stories with one tool. It's low cost. You don't have to pay an external company to evaluate your business, and you don't have to get too much involved yourselves. It can be applied to a widest range of possible business decisions, starting from a small purchase and ending with an entire company's purchase. Now, it facilitates discussion. People can talk about it, and it provides a visual overview. You can actually draw that SWOT quadrant and look at it and see what happens to it. Now, as I'm talking, you are, of course, very welcome to ask questions. And if you have any, I should probably pause and give you a chance to ask questions if you have them. I'm not sure, this is our first webinar, so I don't know how the question and answer system works. I don't see any questions typed up. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I see some hands that have come up. Is that because you have questions, or is that just something else?
Also, I wanted to notice that in the webinar in Zoom, our participants can speak via the voice.
Excellent.
But they can only write. So we should understand it. So guys, we can't hear you, but if you chat with us, it will be really great. Thank you.
Well, here is in your webinar, you have a button that says Q&A. And Eva just wrote down that I have used SWOT in the past with mixed results. So thank you for that comment. So I suppose that I have answered this live, right? Thank you for this comment. And so now we know the Q&A tool. Eva also says that there is a level of subjectivity and we may oversimplify things, for example, the value system. Some companies would not buy others as if not in line with their values. That's an excellent comment. Also, Eugenia had a comment. I'm interested to hear about using SWOT in research institutions. Again, also a very good comment. So, okay, so we have figured out how Q&A works. So now I know that we have questions that I can answer. And I will answer them as I go on. So I will talk a little bit about SWOT in research institutions, and I will talk a little bit about SWOT in terms of the value system. So some of the negatives of SWOT analysis is oversimplification. So things become a little too simple once we start talking about positives and negatives of SWOT. And there is, I would say, over-reliance on brainstorming. So people talk to each other, and that's pretty much the most important and probably one of the few tools that they use when it's similar to a focus group. There is very little control of what is happening when we sort out those little strengths, weaknesses, and other items into the 4 different quadrants. And there is really no framework for finding solutions. Now, let me actually give you some of the highlights of what people have talked about as SWOT's shortcoming. And that comes from experience, that comes from research, and that also comes from other academic literature. So the first and very important aspect of the problems with SWOT analysis is that there are no weighing factors. The components, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are weighted equally. Now think about it. What's more important, to have a strength in the company or to overcome a company's weakness? So opportunities and threats on one side, right? Strength and weaknesses on the other. So let's say we understand that SWOT has this issue, and we're trying to weigh in the factors so that we can make some of them weigh more, so we can overcome this objective of lack of weighing. So would you say that you want to put more emphasis on strengths that the company has, or would you put more emphasis on overcoming weaknesses? Which would be your preference? To have a strength, okay, that's one comment. Anyone wants to agree or disagree? Play to strengths. Well, somebody says overcoming weaknesses. Here's the thing. Eva, actually, thank you for being so active. You're making some excellent points. The weakness means that the company is at risk. That's exactly the point. We don't know what's important. Some may say, well, we at least know our strengths. Let's play on our strengths. Some say, well, what if we have a risk factor that's coming into this? Let's hedge against the risk. Well, the problem is we don't know the exact extent of our own strength. We don't know when the strength might actually overcompensate or compensate for the weakness, or when it may not. The problem is not with the fact that SWOT is not weighted already. The problem is it's impossible to weigh these factors, these quadrants. We don't know which one of them is more important, and when we try to do that, it becomes an educated guess. Most importantly, here's another comment. What is our strength, and what if it's our data technology is moving on? Our products need to move on too, so our weakness, we need to overcome it. So yes, it becomes a vicious circle. It becomes a vicious circle, and it's very difficult to get out of it. And the problem is we don't know what we don't know. We only can judge the factors that we have some information about. When we don't, it's an actual problem. There is no ranking mechanism, not only between categories, but within each category. So when you identify your strengths, for example, you're trying to purchase 1876 and you're weighing whether or not to buy the patent for a telephone, and you're using a SWOT analysis. So what are some of the benefits? You're going to be the first one with the technology. You are going to provide people with a means of communication. Which one of them is more important? We don't have information, or we don't have objective information to evaluate those against each other. So that's a problem with lack of weighing factors between quadrants and within quadrants. Now, there's a lot of ambiguity with SWOT analysis. It's one-dimensional. When you have something, you can only, when you have, let's say, items that you're trying to classify, you can only classify them as a strength or as a weakness. Okay, so let's say you want to overcome this objective and you want to make it both a strength or a weakness. And what did you just do? You just negated the entire analysis. So if you have a unique product and you think it's a strength, but then you have a unique product and you think just because it's too unique, nobody might buy it, it's a weakness. You put it in another quadrant, and what's the result? You don't know if it's a strength or weakness. That's what it is. When you sort it out only as a strength or only as a weakness, you are immediately nullifying the positive or the negative aspects. So if it's a strength and you classify it as a strength, you ignore all the negative aspects of it. If it's a weakness, you ignore all the positive aspects of it. So it creates this ambiguity where you simply don't know. Some factors may belong to different categories and you may need additional information. But as you get additional information, you will quickly find, if you start working very diligently through it, you will quickly find that all of the available information is subject to the same limitations as the original factors. SWOT, despite the fact that it's forward-looking or it appears forward-looking, it does not allow forecasting. So when you're looking at strengths and weaknesses or opportunities and threats, you actually cannot make a prognosis with the information you have. How would you do that? You can't. You know what's out there that is an opportunity for you, but you have no way of identifying the exact key performance indicators that you should shoot for. I worked in corporate America, in American companies for 8 years. And when we were trying to estimate the value of an opportunity, I worked in a corporate strategic planning department. When we're estimating the value of an opportunity, we used an internal rate of return of 10%. Why would we have used 10%? I have no idea. Everyone said that the company should be making at least 10% on its own investments. Otherwise, it's not making sufficient money. I have never actually found a justification of why a company used the 10% internal rate of return. I remember another story with a company called Hewlett-Packard. And at that point, I lived in a city called Boise, Idaho. And that city had a Hewlett-Packard subsidiary. So, of course, because half the city worked for Hewlett-Packard, everybody was so interested in that company. And new CEO named Carly Fiorina came on board. First of all, it was the first female CEO at Hewlett-Packard. It was one of the few female CEOs in the country, and one of the few in technology industry. Okay, so she made a lot of noise. And of course, at the very first conference, when people were congratulating her on becoming a CEO, she was asked the question, what is your projected growth for your company? And what do you think she said? She said 15%. Why 15%? That's because what Wall Street expects the companies to grow at, 15%. And it's a completely random number that has absolutely no merit to it. Because some companies grow faster, some companies grow slower. But guess what? When people put together SWOT analysis, they use 10% internal rate of return and 15% projected growth rates. Therefore, those forecasts are practically useless. Now, even if people use data, it very quickly becomes outdated. There are other shortcomings. Lack of external perspective. When a company is working on the SWOT analysis, they are using their own understanding of the issue, what they should do, what they have, what they think their weaknesses are. But what if you look at it from the perspective of competitors? What would competitors think? Now, there is also a concept in management called groupthink. And that groupthink is an issue when everyone thinks and says the same. Are you going to discuss alternative to SWOT? Of course I will. Of course I will. That's why I'm talking about what's wrong with SWOT, right? And I will move on a little bit faster to get you to those alternatives. So there are also things like disruptive innovations. And I'm sure that those of you who are in business have heard about it, right? So when the company is built for one technology and technology changes and it becomes obsolete, the largest disruptive innovation in the last 30 years or so is the advent and the fast development of wireless internet. By the year 2000, there was enough cable buried into the ground to wrap the world 25 times over. That's because people were thinking that as internet develops, people will need more and more wires for the wired internet technology, except wireless developed much faster. So all that cable is lying in the ground completely useless. That's disruptive innovation. SWOT does not take that into account at all. There are other issues, underestimating human decision making, taboo talk rules. Lots of times people are afraid to say anything that might go against the group's opinion. So if the one person thinks that they're not really happy with what's going on, but everyone else seems happy, well, they may not say anything. And that person who does not say anything might be the only one person who's right. There's a lot of reliance on technologies. SWOT analysis, for some reason, when people make SWOT analysis, and that's been my personal experience, when people make SWOT analysis, they actually think about the patents they have and the ability to develop new products. They don't think about human resources. It's people make or break the company. And as soon as technology becomes obsolete, who's going to be out there to improve on the technologies? So lots of times SWOT analysis does not take that into account. Now, there is another thing which is called role of vertical and lateral cascading human factors. That's networks. How do people work up and down the company chain? And how do they work laterally? Lots of times, well, I have never actually seen that taken into account. The last one is lack of stress tests. When people do a SWOT analysis, have you ever, those of you, Eva was helping me out quite a bit, those of you who have done SWOT analysis in the past, once you do SWOT analysis, have any of you seen companies take the results and say, oh, well, let's put it through a stress test and see how it holds up? No. Once you do a SWOT analysis, you think you're good. You think you have found the way to your best decision possible. And that all together brings SWOT analysis, of course, to makes it a tool that's very highly used, and I would say one of the most dangerous. Because once you do the SWOT, somehow with all these labels that say SWOT analysis is the best and excellent. SWOT analysis sometimes is used to justify already made decision. Very good. So, and people hear that it's the best instrument of strategic choice. Once they make that analysis, once they perform the analysis and have the results of the analysis, they lullify themselves into thinking that they have developed the best decision possible. And nothing can be further from the truth. So strategic decisions should be made on reliable, relevant information, which means, first of all, facts and data. SWOT analysis does not allow for that format. Even if you bring facts and data, you're not relying on analysis, you're not relying on analytics, you're relying really on people's opinion about those analytics. When you take analytics and divide them into either strength or weakness, that's really something that almost negates any analysis that you do if you do it. Second, SWOT analysis does not require any scholarly information to be successful, which means research information. Companies, even when they do research, they look at similar decisions made in the past. They look at what other companies are doing currently, their competitors, and they look at what they think are their strengths. Well, the problem is that it's very difficult to take all of this into account and make the right judgment on what is happening. There's another comment. I would like to make a point about artificial intelligence. It can contribute to a company, but there are ethical factors and also integration of working practices. This is more and more the future for some companies, and some companies are AI already managing the day-to-day operations. I do not disagree. The one word of caution I want to make about AI is that AI only works with available information. So whatever information you feed to the machine, that's the information it would process to generate the results. In our program, in our master's program, we do some machine programming, including image analysis. Of course, this was regression analysis and image recognition were the couple of items that machines were taught to do first. And if you show the machine the picture of a cat, and you show all the possible cat features, it will identify the cat every single time. Except if you take a cat that's severely disfigured for some reason, something happened to it, you show it to a machine, a human being would realize it's a disfigured cat, machine will not. So to make the machine recognize all the disfigurements, you have to take into account lots of different factors. By disfigurement, I meant, I'm sure you have seen like those artificial wheels. Sometimes the cat loses hind legs or front legs. They put it on the wheels and make it run. The machine would lose its mind because it can't combine the cat with the wheels. Maybe with time it will. But you have to realize machine is only as good as the information you give to it. If you yourself, as a researcher or an analyst, do not know what you do not know, machine is not going to solve it for you. So what I want to say is that SWOT analysis also ignores cognitive biases. And machines are a little less prone to that. But when we talk about cognitive biases, look at how many we have to deal with. There are literally hundreds of ways for human beings to make mistakes. And yes, the excellent point that sometimes machines are subject to cognitive biases, but we make bad decisions because of two reasons: information deficit and information neglect. And if it's information neglect, that's our human problem, right? We have the information, we ignore it. This is something machine would not do. Machine would not ignore available information. It will process everything we feed to it. But what if information is not available, even to the machine? How would it come up with a decision? So SWOT analysis has lots and lots of problems. So there is something that goes beyond SWOT analysis, and that's a field called contemporary decision science. Making a decision is actually a science, and it's a subject of scientific thinking. So there are tools from mathematical sciences, operations research, computer science. We do employ artificial intelligence and some other tools. Business statistics is the foundation for the decision making. And of course, since today I'm presenting our master's program, offered together with Coursera for the first time ever, Master of Data and Network Analytics. As part of this program, we are offering a course called Contemporary Decision Sciences, an integrated perspective that actually shows you the exact tools of combating all the problems that we deal with in SWOT analysis, how to overcome the SWOT's limitations, and how to take advantage of all the tools that analytics brings to us to make better decisions. Before I move on to our Masters of Data and Network Analytics program, which we call the State of the Art Data and Network Analytics for Insight Discovery, Prediction, and Prescription in Modern Decision Making, are there any questions that you would like me to answer? I'm looking at your questions, and SWOT and research institutions, I can probably go back to the and answer it now. The fact that in research institutions, SWOT analysis is subject to the same problems and biases. Research institutions are hardly ever different than real-life companies. They just have a different focus of their work, but not really the limitations that we're facing with SWOT. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about our program. The program is absolutely unique. Of course, I'm an academic supervisor. I am going to say that we have a unique program, right? But I'm not saying that because I'm an academic supervisor. When this program opened offline 5 years ago, I was saying that it's the best program in analytics in Russia because it's the only one. And that was true. We had absolutely no competition. But now it's the best program, not only because it's the only one. It was one of the first programs in Russia that used a completely applied approach. We teach some of the most complicated tools that are available in decision making, including Bayesian analysis and, of course, machine learning, using applied approach without focusing too much on the mathematics. Those who want to learn mathematics can, that option is available. But what we are doing is we are showing how to use the tool, what are some of the projects that can be and problems that can be solved with that tool, and how to interpret the results. So we start every analysis with problem formulation. So when you have a problem, you have a range of different tools you can use to solve this problem. Typically, statistical analytical programs do it the other way around. They start with a tool. If you had statistics in the past, think of how you've progressed through statistics courses. You talked about what is population and sample, right, and sampling techniques. Then you talked about descriptive analytics or descriptive statistics, such as average, standard deviation, and mode. Then you talked about some simpler things like t-tests, analysis of variance. Then you probably talked about regression analysis. Now, if you had advanced courses, you might have had factor analysis, cluster analysis, and something else. So you looked at all of those tools in your statistics courses, right? Now, have you ever had a statistics course where you would come to class, your instructor gives you the data and says, let's see which questions we can answer with the data we have in this data set. There are very, very few programs in the world that actually do that. And our program is modeled out of a similar program at Indiana University. That's my second master's degree. My first one is MBA. That's where I worked in business. My second master's is in applied statistics. And I got it together with my PhD in decision sciences. So I combine expertise from different areas that naturally lead to data and business analytics. So basically, you have to realize that as more data become available and as more tools become available, and as we have artificial intelligence developing, right, it basically leads us to new knowledge paradigms. We're able to process more and more information. We have more and more tools that are being developed every day. And I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed by all those buzzwords that are flying around. For a while, people were running around with big data until they realized, well, it's just data, only big. Then people started talking about data science, and there are lots of people who want to be data scientists. There is nothing wrong with being a data scientist, except now nobody knows what it is, right? What does it mean to be a data scientist? It used to mean just computer programmer, but now data science encompasses a much wider range of applications. And there is this common joke that data scientist is just an analyst living in San Francisco, right? So there are lots of buzzwords, and it's very difficult to figure out what is it that I have to do to become effective at my job. Because they say that by the time you finish a bachelor's program and your tools and the skills you've learned have already been outdated. So how do you work? How do you study so you don't become outdated by the time you get your degree? Well, the thing is that this is what we combine in our program. We start, of course, with a state-of-the-art analytics. State-of-the-art, the way they are today. We adjust all the time. 5 years ago, when the program just opened, we did not offer text analysis. We did not offer machine learning. Now these are the courses that are available in our program, and they're available from best universities in the world. So not only we adapt our program, we teach our students to adapt to the new data, and we teach them to learn the new technology. So once the new technology becomes available, how do you change your frame of thinking so that you can actually learn that technology and stay on par with the field? Why are we able to do that? Because we are the largest network analytics laboratory in Russia. So the home for this program is not a faculty or a department. This program within HSE University is offered by International Laboratory for Applied Network Research. We do state-of-the-art research. We keep on top of what's going on, of all the trends in the world, and we teach students to learn, to teach themselves those trends. So our approach to master's education is very much applied and hands-on, and we have world-renowned professors. We bring the world classroom to you. Our professors are mostly not from HSE University. They are from all over the world, Europe, the United States. We might have one professor from Australia. We might have one from Latin America. So those are the best minds in their fields that teach you state-of-the-art analytics. And as a result, we offer those new analytic capabilities. So we also watch the trends in the market, and I will not spend a whole lot of time trying to convince you that when there is a 1,300 growth rate in a profession, the profession is only going to develop. We are also proactively responding to market signals because network analytics, which is our unique specialization, is only going to grow, and is going to grow faster than data analytics profession in general. We anticipate future demand. In fact, during COVID times that we are still all dealing with, lots of jobs became, if not obsolete, and at least put on hold. The demand for analytics only grew. So we are responding to those market signals, and we are actively teaching our students to work in these bright new fields of network analysis. Now, I'm going to stop here for just a second and answer a couple of questions that showed up. How much do modern organizations use SWOT for decision making now? In my understanding, most organizations are moving to data-driven decision making. In your opinion, where we as civilization and shift to data-driven decision-making, will it still make very long road to adapt to this system? I have, so thank you for the question, Ibrahim. There are two things that I want to say in this regard. First of all, SWOT analysis is still the widest used tool. Whenever I see a decision made, I see SWOT analysis of that decision. And like I said, the problem with SWOT analysis is not the SWOT analysis itself. It's the fact that we lullify ourselves thinking that we have made the best decision possible. SWOT analysis without data-driven analytics, of course, is useless. Just let me say, okay? So the second question is, do companies really move to data-driven decision-making? How much have you worked with real-life companies? Well, I will tell you what happens in my experience. So we train our students. We give them the best tools that are available to them. They can program in R and Python. They know Orange. They know Stata, SAS, and R. And they go to a worldwide company, a multinational. I mean, if it were just a Russian company, I could say, well, maybe it's Russian. But no, they go work for best companies that operate in Russia. And do you know what the companies ask them to do? These analysts with master's programs, they ask them to calculate correlations in Excel. That's the reality of today's world, that we think that there is all this push for data-driven analytics. When you come to a real-life company, almost anywhere in the world, maybe with exception of companies like Google or Amazon or something like that, but they are in the minority. You come to a company and some of them still have actual physical books where they store the information. Lots of use Excel. Most do not use R or even SAS, which is the business analytics program. So that data-driven analytics is not yet out there. And there are two reasons for that. First is people don't like change. They're used to doing things the old-fashioned way, and no matter how much we say SWOT is wrong, they're still going to do it the old-fashioned way. But there is a second reason, and that second reason is a lot more optimistic. There are not enough specialists out there, not enough professionals who know how to work with data-driven decision-making. So if you are interested in changing your world, in becoming better at what you do already, and you are thinking about a master's program in data analysis of some kind, that's actually going to propel you much further than you would otherwise. Yes, I said that our students go to companies where they do correlations in Excel, but they very quickly progress up the corporate ladder. And once they do, they have a chance to change something and actually implement data-driven analytics. So hopefully that answers your question. And how long will it take to adapt this system? Well, you see, the amount of data that we have available doubles every 2 years. So I think as humanity gets overwhelmed with data, the data analytics as a knowledge base is going to become as common as speaking a second language. So right now, I'm in Russia and I'm speaking, some of you just looking from your names, I mean, I don't know where you're from. You're from all over the world, but you're all speaking English to me because English became a language of international communication. I think it's only a matter of time, and in fact, a short time, before data analytics will become a language of professional communication. No matter the field that you're in, having the skills, the data analytics skills, would be required, just like having an English language knowledge, no matter what your first language is also now required for a better job. So that's what I think is going to happen. How quickly it will happen? I think it will happen as quickly as we produce enough professionals to take over this world. There are some comments, and actually would like to read them. Found my criticisms was very fast, so it can't be done in 10 minutes. I will comment as I go along. Well, the fact that I'm saying it can be done in 10 minutes, that's not something I said. As I told you, this presentation has lots of comments and lots of links to where the information came from. So I realized that it might look a little bit questionable. I encourage you, because we will post this presentation, to check out the links and to see what the business analysts say. So the fact that SWOT can be done in as few as 10 minutes is not my opinion. It's something that the analysts out there from Deloitte said. Sometimes it can take a month. Yes. Second, your comparison of SWOT and data analytics is not correct. It's illogical. It's different and maybe complementary tools. Data analytics can be a part of SWOT. I will not argue with that. I will only say that data analytics is often not a part of SWOT. Lots of strategic decisions are made on SWOT alone. And when I was talking about some of the ways to overcome problems with SWOT analysis in the previous slide, I did mention that decision sciences is a wide range of tools that actually overcome some of the shortages of SWOT analysis. And third, but not final, there are several other business analytics instruments and tools that are not mentioned and not considered by you. Of course, I can't even say that this is an argument, because this presentation was not about all the business analytics tools available. There are too many of them out there. In fact, so many that we cover those tools not in one, but in 2 courses. They're called Contemporary Data Analysis. That's a review of methods available, and Contemporary Decision Sciences. That's a review for decision making. And we have another course in our program that's called Business Analytics Seminar that runs for a year. So we teach students for a year how to make better business analytics decisions. Now, I'm glad you're arguing with me, because that means that what I said has challenged your assumptions, or you are challenging mine. And I think one of the ways to make better decisions is to challenge each other's assumptions. So don't stop doing that, and question everything you see, everything you read, everything you hear, and everything that's out there, because that's actually a basis for better decision making. So thank you for that comment. Now, I want to move on to our program and say that we are responding to market signals, and we are delivering the skills that markets demand. Of course, everyone starts with linear models. It's a classic, and everyone has to know linear models. But in addition to linear models, there are many other groups of data analytic methods that are available, starting with non-parametrics and machine learning and neural networks. And when some people talk about artificial intelligence, I think we'll have to qualify what exactly we define by that, because both machine learning and neural networks are part of this artificial intelligence, but it just depends on how you classify it, which one is a part of which. A big field that's only growing now is text and semantic data analysis, which is also called analysis of unstructured data. So if you want to use SWOT analysis, you can use texts that are available. For example, news feeds about these new opportunities that are coming up. You can read the sentiment. You can look at what people actually mean when they say those things in news media posts, and use that information to make your SWOT analysis more useful. Now, also in the program, we are doing a lot of hands-on skill training and project-based learning. Our students, first of all, have a class that's called statistical consulting. We actually teach students how to do consulting. Lots of times people think they're good consultants. It's like almost everyone thinks they're better than average drivers. I've seen only a few people around me who have ever admitted that they're bad drivers or they're below average, right? Well, that actually defies the laws of statistics. By definition, at least some of us are bad drivers to make an average driver, and some of us are good drivers, again, to make up the average driver. Same with consulting and actually using data analytics tools. Knowing the tools is not enough. You have to learn how to apply them. And it's not a skill that's inherited somehow. You're not born with this knowledge. It's developed through hands-on experience, which is what our entire program is about. And we teach a variety of languages and programs, and of course, offer a wide variety of statistical analysis packages. Now, we have an integrated curriculum that is actually very flexible. Currently, we have about 36, I think, courses that you could choose from. Some of them are required and some of them are adaptive. We start from ground zero. So if you have never had any statistics before, any mathematics or any analytics, yes, you can be successful in our program. And we do have success stories, many success stories, when people who are lawyers or linguists come to our program, not having any knowledge previously, and learn from scratch to become very successful data analysts who go on to win competitions worldwide, including Kaggle competitions. So we have some courses that are required. Then we do have a wide variety of elective courses where you can almost create your own study program. We have about 90 credits from which you have to choose 42. So less than half of what we offer to make the program as customizable as possible so that you actually take the courses you want. A lot of courses we have are broken up into two parts. For example, if you want to learn time series analysis, you take the first course, you realize that you want to learn more about vector autoregression or state space models, well, then you take a second course. If you think that, forecasting with dynamic linear modeling is sufficient for you, then you stop with the first course. And that's like that with most of the programs we offer in our program. And of course, our program also offers an internship and a master's thesis that could come in a variety of different forms. And this is something that we can talk about. Why not consider to use PSPP free statistical analysis program alternative to SPSS, but use stat and some other paid tools? Well, we use a variety of free and paid programs. There is a reason for it. The first reason for using paid programs is those are the programs that lots of companies use. For example, we had a student that had to create a recommender system for his company. He was working for an insurance company. The company used SAS. So this is something that the company has purchased, and he had to use SAS code to write a recommendation system. It's Eva, thank you. I'm sorry to see you go. You've been very helpful, and hopefully you will come and join us for more webinars. We will post, of course, the link. Thank you. So by exposing you to the software that is not free, but actually used by real life companies, we make you more marketable. For example, if you're on the job market and the company requires that you have SAS certificates that we offer as part of our program, that makes you stand out among other students. As far as free software is concerned, a lot of software we use is free. So we use, of course, R for a lot of things. We use lots of packages in Python that are used for data analysis. We have some free software such as Orange, which is the best software for data mining, or Payek, which is the best software for network analysis. That's actually the only non-commercial software package that can take 10 billion nodes. That's a big data network analytics package that's actually not even available. SAS does not have powerful enough module for networks to do that, and Stata does not do that at all. So we are using paid programs to make you more marketable to companies that use paid programs for their business analytics. And we use free programs to teach you how to learn to use different softwares, including programming. So when it comes to the course program, of course, I can talk a lot about the different options that we offer. And the question is, are we going back to SWOT? No, not anymore. I'm talking about master's program now because there is no miracle alternative to SWOT. There really isn't. I wanted to caution you that the SWOT analysis is an overused tool, and it's used for everything, including your personal value system SWOT analysis, right? People use it for everything. Just hopefully I challenged you enough that next time you see SWOT analysis, you look at what did people put in those quadrants, and would you do that analysis differently? Would you succumb to groupthink, or would you have your own alternatives? Would you argue with people who made a decision using SWOT, or would you actually agree with the decision they have made? Understand that, yes, data analytics is a big supplement to SWOT, but it should be the other way around. You should analyze data first and foremost, and there are many ways to unearth the insights that are not available at the first glance. And I will talk a lot about those in our future webinars, because data analytics is extremely powerful, much more powerful than lots of people realize. The data about the world are out there, and there are many ways to find those insights through second, third, fourth tier analysis that you can do with simple regression, or even with something complex, like some big non-parametric method. Sometimes you have to combine several. And it's not a problem when you supplement SWOT with business analytics. It's a problem when you don't use business analytics at all. So I will not talk about many reasons why we're competitive. Our cost is very competitive, and relative to, for example, best US programs or best programs in Europe, we are actually much more competitive than that. And we do offer a unique specialization in network analysis, which I did not even have a chance to talk about today. It's very highly sought after. As I've mentioned, network analytics is outpacing the growth of the market in general, analytics market in general, and there are very, very few network analysts out there. We do have the best professors throughout the world that teach in our program, and we allow you to use our own, the laboratory's own research and consulting projects to learn, to get that hands-on experience. So it's very difficult to see how we price relative to, let's say, Asia and Latin America. But we do price very competitively relatively to the United States. And we do have a wide variety of tools for creating an online community, because we do have, as the largest lab in Russia, we do have a very large community. Now, I will skip what network analysis is, because we really don't have the time to talk about it, but I will talk a little bit about our lab, which is what was founded by Professor Stanley Wasserman of Indiana. He is one of the founding fathers of the field of network social network analysis, together with Professors Anushka Poligoy and Vladimir Butagel, who are our current supervisors. Our laboratory is also a full-service think tank that combines research, education, and consulting. And we do offer free consulting services to the community, and we do have quite a large actually demand for those services, but we also have commercial projects, and our students have a chance to participate in those. Our research spans through all domains of research areas, starting with political science and ending with mathematics and statistics. And we do have several research groups on network science, policy networks, networks in sociology, and methodology of networks. That's in addition to what we do with our master's programs. Now, I will stop at that, because I love my program so much. I can talk about it, forever and ever. I want to stop and give you a chance to ask questions. I want to apologize again for starting late, and that was not a problem on our end that we could fix. And hopefully next time we won't face these problems. So anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to ask, anything you want to challenge me on, I will be happy to answer your challenges. Please let me know. Any questions? Do we have Russian courses? What do you mean by Russian courses? Courses offered in Russian? Our program is entirely taught in English. This is because our professors are all from, well, most of them are from the United States or Europe. They don't speak Russian, so they teach in English. We do within HSE University, it's a big university, of course. We do have Russian as a second language, which is a huge program. It's probably the largest program in Russia. And people can start learning Russian language in that program with zero knowledge. In fact, some of our colleagues that come to Russia, to HSE University from other countries, our international professors, take those courses to get their Russian up to speed. Any other questions? You have zero knowledge about the software. Well, you and everyone else who joins our program. I would say that other than Excel, that many people learn in some way or the other, together with other Microsoft programs, most of our students have never seen any other statistical software. We start from scratch in all of the programs. Yes, you will be able to code. In our program, we have 2 introductory courses that teach you the basics of programming in the 2 most common languages, which is R, which is the language for statistical computing, which is just the language of doing statistical analysis, and Python. Python is a universal language. It's not done just for programming, statistical computing. It's done for other programming as well. But we teach you foundations of those 2. And now you don't have to use those tools because we give you access to free tools that do not require programming. So of course, SAS is a paid program, but we use SAS University Edition that's completely free. I've already mentioned Orange and Payek that are also completely free. There is a program called Visoni and Gephi. Those are all for network analysis that are completely free. So the university has several licensed products. As a university student, you will have a license to a STATA program and some other statistical programs that we can use. And we teach you to work in those. So when you go into the real world, you will be able to work with them. But we start every course from scratch. You have zero knowledge in statistics. Is it possible to be successful? Yes. Again, you and majority, I would say 90% of students who join our program had zero knowledge of statistics. When we had a lawyer who then became, well, actually, he was a linguist first, then he started to be a lawyer. And he finished our program with honors and published an article on network analytics, actually, in a good Scopus Index journal. So we have students like that. They start from ground zero and learn everything they need to learn, because this is a very applied approach where we take the problem, we formulate the problem, and we teach you how to find the appropriate tool to solve the problem. In fact, I don't have it in my presentation today, but you can look at our website. We have students that have won 4 international competitions offered by Kaggle community. And then there was another one recently on COVID-19, of course, data challenge. Those are, Kaggle is a large community, has about 3 million data scientists as members, and they have competitions quite regularly that come with a large prize pool, so that you understand the seriousness of these competitions. The first place carries a $25,000 prize. Our students have won 4 times. So they have taken either the first or the second place in those competitions, 4 times in the last year. And one of them actually never had data, it's a couple, but one of them never had really serious training in data analysis before at all. So yes, you can learn. It's almost like speaking a language. You learn a little bit at a time, but as 2 years go by, you will find that your understanding of the field becomes much more, much more developed than you ever had in your prior years. If you ever had any mathematics or statistics, I guarantee you, you didn't like them or you didn't learn them because you were not taught correctly. that is actually a common problem. Any other questions? Well, we have been going for over an hour, so I don't want to stand between you and what you are doing. I want to thank you again for being here, sincerely, because you absolutely did not have to be. And I want to thank those of you who stayed for the first 10 minutes for your patience in us figuring out the technical difficulties. I promise next time we won't have them, and we're going to have a very interesting topic, how to lie with statistics, right? Well, actually, it's a book called How to Lie with Statistics. So we'll talk about all the lies that improperly done analysis or analysis that's done wrong, all the lies that it can tell, and how to combat those lies and how to find the appropriate decision with the same data, okay? So we'll talk about that, and I will hopefully see you on March 9th. Thank you again for being here. Please contact us with questions. We'll be happy to talk. Goodbye.